Inside ski into the outside ski and just cascaded from there.
Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan Capehart, opinion writer for the Washington Post. Welcome to Washington Post Live. Lindsey Vonn is the most decorated female skier in history, and we've been there for it all. Her Olympic victories, her injuries, and the challenges they posed for her, all while enduring the pressure of being a public person. Now, the Minnesota native writes about it all in her new book, Rise, My Story, in which she also reveals her battle with depression. Joining me now is a legendary skier, three-time Olympic medalist, and now author, Lindsey Vonn. Welcome to Washington Post Live.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Sure. So why was now the right time to tell your story?
Well, I mean, I think it made sense, after my skiing career, to just kind of reflect on my life thus far, my journey, all the ups and downs that I faced. I think that, my injuries and my adversities taught me a lot about my life, and I wanted to share those stories. And also, I think hopefully, down the road when I have kids, have created something that they can look back on and read about as well.
So you write about how you were just 2.5 years old when your father put you on skis, and you've loved it ever since. But what led to the drive you developed to become an Olympian, to become the best in the world?
I've always been very driven. I mean, I don't know really what was in me that made me believe so strongly that I was going to be an Olympic champion. But I mean, when I was 9 years old, I met Peekaboo Street at an autograph signing in a ski shop in Minnesota, and ever since then, I told my dad I want to be an Olympic champion, and we created a 10-year plan. He didn't bat an eye; he just hunkered down, and we found a way to get there.
Wait, because I'm glad you brought up Peekaboo Street, because that was the next question I was going to ask you about your meeting her when you were 9 years old. What was it about that encounter that lit the fire under you?
It was her personality. I think a combination of her personality and the fact that I'd never actually seen a champion like her in person. Skiing wasn't very prevalent on television then. I mean, it kind of is now, but it definitely wasn't then. And so I didn't really have anyone to look up to in that way. And when I met her and I saw, her Olympic medal, I thought this is exactly what I want to be. I never thought that skiing could be a career. And she really opened my eyes to that and really drove me to my ultimate goal, which is being an Olympic champion.
I think I saw an interview that she was giving where she talked about the meeting that you had, and I believe she said she didn't think she played any real role in lighting the fire under you, if only to sort of reveal to you what was already inside you. Do you buy that?
I mean, I kind of do. I think a lot of people have a lot of aspirations. They have, talent and drive, but unless they see someone in front of them that's doing something similar, they don't really realize their potential. So, to a degree, I think she just opened my eyes to make me realize what was already in front of me. But at the same token, had I not met her, I don't know if the drive would have been as strong at that age, at such a young age.
No, you're absolutely right. When you are at that young age, seeing someone who looks like you or taps into something that you share at that age can mean everything. So, Lindsay, you are the most successful female skier, ski racer of all time with 80. I'm going to just read, make sure I get the numbers right. 82 career World Cup victories. You also won 3 Olympic medals, including the downhill at the Vancouver Olympics in 2010. Of all those victories, which of your victories means the most to you?
I think winning the Olympics in Vancouver was the most meaningful simply because, as we just talked about, I dreamed about it since I was a kid. My family had given up so much. We moved from Minnesota to Colorado for my skiing career. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings. And so it was no small feat for us to get to that point. And so I felt like when I won the Olympics, it was really a culmination of all of those sacrifices coming together. And it was a relief. It was a joy. I cried. I laughed. It was really one of the best moments in my career, I'd say for sure.
I want to go back to something you said earlier on when you were talking about your dad putting you on the skis at 2.5 years old. And then after meeting Peekaboo Street, that your dad put together a 10-year plan. Was the Olympics part of that 10-year plan?
Yeah, that was the goal. We wanted to make a plan that would get us to the Salt Lake Olympics. And him being a racer himself, he knew exactly what we had to do. I had to start racing internationally. I had to start training more GS, Super G downhill. I had to really expand my repertoire. I had to again travel abroad and be around other racers that were dominating at my age. So he really was the orchestrator behind the tactics and getting to where we wanted to go. And I really have to credit him for that. And I mean, if for someone to believe in a 9-year-old with a dream like that is pretty amazing.
Right. And you also mentioned sacrifices. It does take a lot of sacrifice to get to where you are. And I'm just wondering, as a teenager, I mean, you dedicated your life to become an Olympian, giving up all the things that regular teenagers prize: social life with other teens, friends, going out, all these things that teens take for granted. If you had to do it again, would you do it again?
Absolutely, without question. I mean, I give up a lot? Yes, and I think at the time it was often difficult, to see my friends going and doing other things that seemed a lot more appealing. But I learned so many lessons being able to travel. I started traveling internationally by myself when I was 9 years old, and while that seems weird to think about now, it seemed perfectly normal at the time and taught me so many lessons about life that I just would never have learned otherwise. And I think it was absolutely worth it.
hmm So, despite the challenges you faced, you proved your critics wrong. You did make the 2002 Olympic team, but you write about how coaches continue to underestimate your abilities. Does the hurt and frustration ever go away over those who doubted you?
I remember very specifically every time someone said I couldn't do something. So, I think I've mitigated the pain by proving them wrong and succeeding despite what they said. But especially, when I was 16, 17 years old, overhearing my coaches saying that, I wasn't going to make the team and, they should put all of their eggs in the other athlete's basket and, we'll see if I ever make anything of myself. And that was really hard to hear. But as I said, I definitely remember those words. They fueled me, and many critics over the course of my career fueled me as well. So I think it worked out in the end.
When you're talking about favoring other people over you, are you talking about Julia Mancuso as being one of
Yep.
those people?
Yeah, they specifically, really thought that she was the next golden child, and she's exceptionally talented. I mean, she's won many Olympic medals, so she, to their credit, they were absolutely right. But they also completely wrote me off, and
Mm.
that was hard. As a teenager, you really want your coaches to believe as much in you as you believe in your path, and I just didn't feel like I had that. And especially after overhearing, I knew I didn't have that.
So then, what was that the trigger that led to the start of your battle with depression?
No, I didn't deal with depression until later in my career. After the Olympics, I'd moved out to Park City, Utah, and I was, living with roommates and away from my family, and there was a lot going on in my family life, and it just was a very isolating time. And I think that, maybe a combination of the fact that the coaches didn't believe in me, but also because they demoted me. I went from having the best Olympic result on the women's side to going back down to lower level races in Europe, and just really not feeling like all of the sacrifices I'd made were worth anything. So, yeah, I guess potentially that had something to do with it, but I think mainly the isolation and not having anyone to lean on kind of trigger that at that moment.
When did you come to understand that you were dealing with depression? Were you 16? Were you older than 16? And then what did you do? What did you do about it once you realized it?
I was about 17, 18, and I was living with my roommates. And honestly, I wouldn't have really understood what it was if my roommate hadn't have been going through a similar situation. And he actually went to a doctor and was put on medication for the same thing. And he noticed what I was going through. I became very reclusive. I didn't want to go see any of my friends. I wasn't getting out of bed. And I knew that something was wrong when I stopped wanting to go to the gym. I've always prided myself in my work ethic, and I just had no desire whatsoever to go. So I talked to him, and I actually went to the doctor more to rule out depression than anything else. But when I got there, that was definitely not the case. And thankfully, I got some guidance. I learned a lot about depression in that moment, and I was given medication, and it definitely helped get me through those moments and help me through the rest of my career, to be honest.
You also suffered a significant list of major injuries, including multiple knee surgeries, a concussion, a season-ending ACL sprain. You've spoken about barely being able to get out of bed some days during your ski career. Talk about those dark days.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of stopped counting my injuries after my major surgeries, but I think it was during my second ACL surgery. I was out back to back seasons. I had two ACLs in within an 8 month span. I was watching the Olympics at home from my couch on crutches, and I just really lost motivation. I was questioning what I was doing and why I was doing it. I'd worked so hard to get back to the Olympics, and then I blew my knee out within the first few months of training right before the games. And it was a really difficult time for me, but I was very lucky that I had a good support system. My sisters, my physical therapist, Lindsey Vonn, she ripped the covers off me in bed oftentimes and dragged me out and got me in the gym. And once I kind of got past a certain point of the rehab, I felt like I was making progress, and that was the positivity that I needed to kind of really get things going. But it was a very challenging time.
Mhm. So then, how did you overcome uh, depression? Is it something that you can overcome?
I don't know if the word overcome really fits into depression. I think it's something that there's obviously situational depression, and then I think there's obviously more clinical depression. But for me, it's just something. It's more about taking care of my mental health as a whole. I don't really look at it as oh, I have depression. I think about it as I need to take care of myself every day, and so I journal, and I have a therapist, Dr. Mondo, and I make an effort to make sure that I'm in a good place. That I'm not going down any dark holes that I'm not that I shouldn't be. But I feel really great right now. I've really taken some time to reflect after my career, and really focus on my mental health in this time. And I feel like I'm in a great place. So I'm lucky.
In fact, you set up a system. You mentioned one of the things in there, and that was journaling. But and tell me if I'm wrong, but you also have building a support system around you, finding little joys every day. your self-described unconventional style of preparation, and I'm going to come back to that in a second. Naps, which I'm fully 100% behind naps, and then a love of your sport. But let's go back to this your unconventional style of preparation. What is that?
Like for mental health or for skiing?
Yeah, which I did. I just have the shorthand there. So talk about both.
Well, I mean, I definitely, when I was preparing for my ski races, was a bit odd. I always was like very, maybe you call it OCD, but I had my everything color coordinated. I laid everything out on the sofa beforehand. I was like very meticulous. I also, took meticulous notes, and there's certain things that I'm I don't know, a little bit odd about, but I felt like over the course of my life that served me very well. And I kind of bring that into my journaling too. I feel like it's really important to write about the good times. I think often we focus on the bad times. And so when you look back in your journal, you don't want to only have bad times written down. I like to go back and reflect on things that really made me happy. And I think, that in turn, brings back those memories, which brightens my day.
hmm Um, you retired from skiing in 2019, and you write the primary factor that led you to your retirement was the fact that your body simply gave out. And prior to your retirement, you write, I had reached a point where it was like I was skiing on one leg. How hard was it, mentally and physically, to grind through those injuries before you realized you needed to retire?
That last season was really tough. I mean, I had 3 surgeries within a 6 or 7-month span during the summer. And, by the end, I was skiing with 2 knee braces. I had no LCL. I had a bone bruise in my other knee, because I have no cartilage on my right knee and bone on bone. So I was a mess. And, I felt the weight of my last race really heavily on my shoulders because I wanted so badly to finish my career on a high. But my second to last race, I actually crashed and I got a black eye, and it derailed me a bit. So I felt very lucky that I was able to pull through mentally and physically for that last and final race. And to come away with a bronze medal was definitely more than I could have hoped for. It was that last season was definitely the opposite of what I had hoped for, but I made something of it nonetheless.
You weren't able after you retired, you weren't able to watch skiing on television at all, could you?
No, the first year was really hard. I watched a couple just because I really wanted to support my teammates, but it was very hard. I had a bit of resentment because I was envious. I wanted to still be there. I didn't want to physically be in the position that I was in. And it just I was in a bad spot. So after a while, after about a year and kind of through the pandemic, I really was able to reflect and accept the position that I was in. I think when you change careers, especially when, there's no option to go back, it's a very tough transition. So I took that time during COVID to really reflect, and now I'm in a great place. I can watch races as much as I want and not feel as bad. I mean, of course, I'm definitely still a little bit jealous. I think I always will be, but I can watch my teammates and be exceptionally happy for them.
Right. During your skiing career, you were also in the spotlight for 3 years when you dated golf superstar Tiger Woods. Did being in a high-profile relationship have any impact in your battle with your mental health?
No, that was a totally separate thing. And I felt like, as I talked about my book, I didn't talk about my relationships because I wanted to share the lessons that I've learned and what I've learned about myself. It's all about, my perspective and my story. And I don't think that had any factor in my mental health at all.
In 2021, last year, several high profile athletes spoke out about their struggles with mental health. Two of them include, of course, tennis star Naomi Osaka and Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles. Do you consider these women trailblazers when it comes to helping others deal with their own mental health struggles?
I definitely think that what they did in their respective sports was incredible, and I have to thank them so much because they really brought the conversation to a global scale that we haven't seen before. But there have been many other athletes that have spoken about it in the past. Michael Phelps, especially Kevin
Mm.
Love, Shaun White. But the fact that Simone talked about it and pulled out of her competition in the Olympics really shed light on it in a way that hasn't been done before. So I really applaud her for the courage to do that.
You write about how you want to be a mentor off the slopes for the next generation of skiers. And in fact, you have mentored skiers Breezy Johnson, Bella Wright, other members of the U.S. women's team, and also Italian skier Sofia Goggia. What is the best advice you've been able to give them?
It's interesting. I mean, everyone kind of asks me different questions. I think it depends on the athlete. But I really enjoy encouraging them, and Breezy's always watching my videos from my past races, and I love just talking to her about it and kind of sharing my experience and trying to help her as much as I can in her experience. So I don't know. For me, it's just very humbling, and it really makes me feel like I'm still a part of the sport in some small way. And I really, really want to see all of them succeed.
I totally forgot we had audience questions, Lindsay, and so I'm gonna. My bad. Sylvia from Virginia has this question. How did the enormous commitment to your sport from an early age impact your life in other areas, such as friendships, academics, non-athletic passions?
Great question. I mean, it definitely took a toll on other areas of my life. I think to achieve success in anything, you have to make sacrifices, and so I didn't have many friends. I had maybe two or three, and I still have those two or three today. We're very close, but I didn't really have much of a social life. I was a pretty big nerd. I had braces and a perm and bangs all at the same time, so that didn't help my cause. Um, uh, and studying while I was racing was difficult as well. I mean, I was in my first Olympics when I was 17, and there wasn't a lot of time for studying because I was always traveling. So it was hard to manage, but I figured it out. I definitely figured it out, and again, I think all of those sacrifices were well worth it.
Let's talk about another skier, American alpine skier Michaela Schifrin. She won a gold medal in 2014 and 2018. Next month, the Olympics. How do you think she's going to do?
I think she's going to do amazingly well. I mean, she's had such a great season so far. I think they just set up the first run of the night race in Schladming, and she's in fifth place. So, I really think she's going to medal in multiple disciplines. I know she's going to try to race in all five. So I'm excited to watch her. I think that would be, if she could medal in all five, that would be an incredible feat for alpine skiing.
We're running out of time, but I got to squeeze in two more questions for you. You represent Under Armour, Rolex, Land Rover. You have a new makeup line that you're designing. What do you enjoy the most during your post skiing career?
I mean, I love all of it. I mean, I definitely, I think I enjoy driving my Range Rover fast because I don't have as much adrenaline in my life anymore. But I love working with all of my sponsors and my businesses, and I'm in venture capital now and investing, and I love the challenge of learning and going through new experiences. So there's been so many great opportunities. I feel very lucky to be in this spot, and the future is very exciting.
You're also you announced a partnership with Tempo, which is an at-home personal training company. You're going to be doing training programs as well.
Yeah, I am. I already did a couple of programs, and you can get it already on the Tempo app and on the Move and on the Studio. But I love it. I mean, I've really searched through COVID trying to find a way to work out at home in a way that I enjoyed, and Tempo was really the best thing I have found. And I really thoroughly enjoy it, which is saying a lot for me because I really don't like classes. I'm not one of those people, but I'm really excited to be with Tempo and to share with the world fitness because it's been such a huge part of my life.
You say you don't like classes, meaning you don't like going into somebody's gym or studio with a bunch of other people and being yelled at by,
Yeah,
by somebody.
yeah, no, that's just not for me. That's not for me. I don't
Me
want that's
neither.
not my jam. Nope.
Nope. Exercise is just me, myself, and I. We've got Lindsay. We've got 90 seconds left, and I know I got into a little bit of your business when I asked about Tiger Woods, but I'm going to end by asking a little bit more about some of your business. Because at one point you were engaged to NHL hockey star PK Subban, but then you broke that engagement off. And at last check, you were dating the actor Diego Osorio. You two still together?
Um, I mean, I think that, for me, the reason why I didn't talk about it in my book is because I just don't feel like it's a relevant conversation. You know, I my personal life has been very public in the past, and I think for me moving forward, it's important to keep that line of separation and then try, to keep things like that as private as I can.
You know, I gotta respect that answer. You know, that is the perfect answer. And on that note, we're gonna end it there. Skiing great and now author Lindsey Vonn. Thank you very, very much for coming to Washington Post Live.
Thank you.
And as always, thank you for tuning in. To check out what interviews we have coming up, head to WashingtonPostLive.com to see all the information and register. Once again, I'm Jonathan Capehart, opinion writer for the Washington Post. Thank you for watching Washington Post Live.